some kind of pre-game, pre-practice warm-up stuff. I speak all over the place, and that's one of the questions I get a lot, so I need something that you'll find some value in. But at any point, though, if you have a question, please stop me. I want this to be laid back and for you. I want to thank a few people. Hopefully you guys can see that. Okay? Sorry about the tech here, but Michael Campbell from Kansas City. I'm actually speaking for their baseball coach meeting next weekend. But definitely want to thank Dave and Jeff for the privilege of being here. A lot of mentors and things that have put me here, so I appreciate that. I also got to mention my friend Dr. Phil Page, Performance Health Academy, donated a bunch of items today for your raffle. There's some massage sticks and some stretch straps and some BioFreeze and things like that. So I want to recognize Phil and Performance Health for taking care of me today. I have no financial interest or relationship to disclose. I'm not paid anybody to be up here. Performance Health doesn't pay me. I'm just a dude sharing information. But as Wooderson would say, it'd be a lot cooler if I did, if I was paid to do stuff. So, just a little bit about me, so you know who I am. I have a bachelor's and a master's. Well, I have a bachelor's in athletic training, master's in PT from Grand Valley State, Michigan, in 2001. I went back and got my doctorate down the road. In '97, I was an intern for the Chicago White Sox Major League Baseball team in the summer. In 2004, I was a Duke University Sports Physical Therapy Fellow. And from there, I came to Kansas City, and I was a rehab coordinator, assistant athletic trainer for the Chiefs for a few years. And then I opened my own practice. We have 3 locations over the Park, Prairie Village, and now Shawnee in 2012. And then just this past year, the National Strength and Conditioning Association awarded me the Sports Medicine Rehab Professional of the Year. So real honor and privilege for that. So real quick, I am making a job change here soon. I'll be switching over to Lawrence Memorial Hospital. I'll still live in the area, but I'll switch over to be their director of sports medicine. Going to help with a lot of stuff like this in the community out there. This is my crew back home. And anybody with kids knows that it's impossible to look at the camera at the same time. So the best I got, sorry. So today I'm going to talk about risk factors for injury in baseball. And again, guys, and everybody here, there's going to be some straight talk. I'll probably ruffle some feathers, but I don't really care. You need to hear it, and we're going to go through some of that stuff. Talk a little bit about injury prevention programs and kind of what they should entail. We'll talk about weighted baseballs that is hotter than sunburn right now. And there's a lot of internet marketing gurus. I think you guys probably know who I'm talking about. I'm naming the names, but they're part of the problem, to be honest with you. I'm going to talk about pain and soreness rules. I get that a lot too. Dan, I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing that my kids are complaining about. Should I be worried? Should I not? We'll talk about that. And do some pre-practice, pre-game stuff as well. So a good friend of mine, Mike Ronald, he's really pretty well known in the baseball community. Was a head athletic trainer for the Red Sox when they were in their drills in the mid-2000s there. He talks about 4 buckets when it comes to baseball, and I really like how he's framed this. There's age and maturity, and this maturity thing really matters when it comes down to weighted baseball, so I'm going to come back to that. But mechanics, we are in the velocity era. Guns are out. It's velo. That's all it is. Kids are throwing, not pitching, and that's again part of the reason why we're seeing some of this stuff. It's amazing to me that I have 3 kids right now that are maybe 16 with pins in their elbow. So that's a problem. That's not a coincidence. And arm care is obviously big. Those of you who play baseball, and sometimes you had programs, sometimes you didn't, but we got to take care of the arms, and frankly, we got to work the legs too. 54% of the pitch comes from the lower body. So you got to have the legs feed the wolf, so to speak. And then obviously the strength training side, which I'm not going to talk a whole lot about today, but happy to answer any specific questions about it. So what are some of the risk factors for injury? This is a study back in 2006 in American Journal of Sports Medicine. Again, I'm trying not to be too sciencey here, but also not going to blab on either. Just stick substance. So there's definitely a big risk with increased age, increased body weight, decreased height, because you're trying to basically overcorrect for your lack of stride. Lifting weights, again, when I say lifting weights, it's lifting inappropriately. Like just doing, most kids that lift, they bench, they do lat pull downs, they do biceps, they're not really doing balance training. Playing in multiple leagues is a big one. Showcase baseball is a big one. Decreased satisfaction with pitching, like kids that just get burned out, they just don't care as much about recovery, they don't care as much about paying attention to the little things that matter so much. Pitching with fatigue, and then number of pitches thrown in a season. Another one that we're seeing that's gaining traction too is pitching and catching in the same game. no doubt there's a relationship with injury if your kids pitch and catch in the same game. You don't want to be doing that. So if that's happening, you need to stop. So the current stats on injury: 3 times greater risk if you throw more than 100 innings per year, 4 times greater risk if you throw greater than 80 pitches a game, 5 times greater risk if you throw greater than 8 months a year. Folks, we got to put the baseballs down and build them into athletes. Athleticism is not skill. Skill is what you pitching coaches do to teach a kid when and how to throw a curveball, how to locate that slider, how to locate that fastball. That is skill. Athleticism is building strength, building power, working on your mobility and flexibility. Those are 2 different things. Okay, so you don't get. I'm always amused at all the folks out there that brag about, oh, my kid, the kid that I'm training, long jump, that was, 8 feet, now it's 12 feet. I'm arbitrarily picking numbers. All you did was increase their athleticism. You did nothing to improve their ability to hit home runs or to throw strikes. You understand the difference? So that's why you got to be watching these gurus, because they're out there, like they're going to throw all these numbers at you. Look at the vertical jump. Look at this. Look at that. It did nothing to make them a better baseball player. It just improved their athleticism. So it's important to understand that difference. So this is actually hot off the press. I read this paper last night. No kidding. This paper was just published like this month. International Journal of Sports Physical Therapy. Now this is, I get at this a lot because they have the pitch count recommendation. But what's hard to take into account is the cumulative load from practice and games throughout the week. How many are kids throwing in bullpens? How many are they throwing pre-practice? All that kind of stuff. So in this particular paper, and I don't know of any other ones that looked at this, to be honest with you, but there were 7 college pitchers, Division I pitchers, so you have to remember the age and that kind of stuff here. There were 5 relievers in this study. Or 5 of the 7 were relievers, so keep that in mind. They did pitch count over 6 categories. They did catch, which is like 30 to 50% intensity, like 70 feet or less, long toss, flat ground, practice bullpens, game bullpens, and then game pitching. These 7 pitchers averaged 7,735 pitches over the course of the spring season. Game pitches were about 656 pitches, again, over the course of the season. 45% of the pitches were in the catch category, so almost half were super low intensity. All right, so those necessarily aren't really ones we are most concerned about. And I'll talk about some of the mechanics of throwing them out versus flat ground and those kind of things here in a bit. Game pitches only account for 12%, and then we're talking like max intensity type. So it's a fairly low amount of how much. So really it is more of the game pitching. I think we should still dial in on. Practice pitch volume average 4 times more than game volume. That should really surprise most of us. I think the idea is to build up that tolerance, so the game or the season ends up being a little bit easier on the arm. And then really you just want to watch the weekly spikes in the workload. So be careful if a kid is throwing several bullpens through a game recently. So having something things is helpful. Okay, so let's talk about pain, soreness, and red flags. So just so you know, there's as you'll see here in a second, there's green lights, yellow lights, red lights, so I want to make sure you guys are aware of those. So the first one, in general, soreness that is diffuse, so that means it's kind of spread out. That stops after activity, only lasts a few hours, typically isn't a big deal. All right, again, I say typically, I'm speaking very much generalities here. They're athletes, they get sore. I find that kids nowadays have a hard time understanding the difference between pain and soreness. Okay, that sometimes you're an athlete, you get sore. You play a few games on a Saturday, it's 95-degree heat. Who knows what happened during the game? Maybe they took a hard slide and they're just stiff or sore. That happens. Stiffness in joints that resolves after moving around a bit. Especially if you have kids going through growing pains, which I'll talk about, they need to move around a bit. Okay, and they hurt everywhere, but usually movement's better. If a kid comes in and he moves around and he feels better, it should be fine. It should be fine, but just again, kind of keep an eye on it. And then this is another big one too, because kids die. Actually, everybody dies on this stuff, my patients included. They'll come in and they'll kind of move around, move me around, and they'll say, "What is that clicking? What is that popping?" Painless clicking and popping anywhere isn't pathological. That's for your old creaky knees too. All right, it's only if they have clicking and popping that's painful should you be concerned. So for example, if I see a pitcher that comes in, and one of the things I ask that pitcher is like, "Why are you here? Is it pain? Is it decreased velocity? What's the reason?" And if they say they have real sharp pain, late cocking right here. If I get sharp pain, maybe a click, maybe not, that's a problem. But if I get clicking and it doesn't hurt, like, oh, right here, you feel that? It clicks. Does it hurt? No. Well, don't worry about it. We'll keep an eye on it. There's maybe some other stuff we can do to help minimize that. Do they have, it's certainly possible to have asymptomatic lesions or tears in your shoulder. Just because you have something doesn't mean that it's pathological. So what I'm saying is that we don't want to treat necessarily MRIs. We want to treat like what, okay. So yellow lights. Again, growing pains. So maybe some of you know this. This is the 14-year-old kid that's got size 15 feet, these massive hands. He walks around like a baby calf, super uncoordinated, but he throws smoke. So, he's a kid that's ankles are sore, knees are sore, both arms are sore. They feel like an old man. These are growing pains. This is a kid that just needs a little more kind of tender love and care from a standpoint of growing up but keep an eye on stuff because it can go from not a big deal to a big deal. These are kids that are super tight, super stiff because their bones are growing and the muscles are going along with it too. They're getting stretched out as well. So there's as the bones grow, the muscles are growing with them. But remember, these kids are taller. They have longer lever arms now. They don't have the strength to match the growth. So these are kids that, I know they might be tight as tin, but they actually are very weak too. So that's why the strength training side is so important. One-sided pain anywhere is a yellow light. All right, so if you get a kid that his elbow is sore and it spills into the next morning, maybe lasts a couple days, definitely a yellow light. That's a kid that needs rest. Remember I said soreness is expected for a few hours after a game, maybe even spilling into the next morning, but it should go away quickly and shouldn't be exacerbated by the activity that they do. Pain that is present at rest, better with activity, worse after. Typically that's kind of like a musculoskeletal, like a muscle tendon type of a problem. So they typically need to warm up. They play, they feel fine, but they sit in the car on the way home. They get out of the car and they're walking like they're 85. Okay, that's again typically, yellow light. Let's just make sure that doesn't worsen or become more constant pain. And then pain that's directly related to specific activity, but not much else. So if your kid says it only hurts when I throw in the shoulder or the elbow, again, yellow light. If they're having pain with day-to-day activities like at school, like picking up their backpack, that's another big one I ask all the time with kids with elbow trouble. So when you pick up your backpack, because they pick up their backpack and gaps the elbow real quick, and if there's any Tommy John ligament issues, that tends to be irritable. So, if they're having issues with day-to-day stuff, now this is starting to get a little more serious. Ask those questions. Is it just hurt during baseball, or does it also hurt throughout? Because that matters. Now, the definitive red lights, these are a big deal, okay? Now, keep in mind, in this area, in Kansas, I'm not sure where all of you are from, but in Kansas, you can see somebody like myself off the street without a physician referral. Build a relationship with somebody close to you that you can trust that can get kids in quickly. Because, again, sometimes at the doctors, it's a few weeks. So a kid shaking his arm or rubbing his arm. Maybe you've seen this, so hopefully that's a no-brainer. Numbness or tingling in the elbow and or the pinky finger. Usually the first, the pinky, and then the fourth finger as well. Okay, if you get numbness going down the arm, because that's that ulnar nerve. That's your funny bone nerve. That's the one that can get really irritated if they're having elbow trouble. Point tenderness along the inside elbow or like a C around the shoulder. So there's something called little league shoulder, which is growth plates are right here at the neck of the arm. And with repetitive throwing as they grow, this is a very weak and vulnerable area of the bone. So you can really develop a stress fracture almost in this area that they're going to need to be shut down from. So that's why I say that it's kind of along this area here. Point tenderness too, again, point tenderness is a bigger deal than diffuse soreness. So remember, soreness that's spread out isn't as big of a deal as point tenderness. If a kid's right there, that's a bit more of a problem and definitely something that you need to be concerned about. Sharp pain really anywhere. Remember I said you're going to might get some clicking and popping and things like that, not a big deal. But if you have sharp pain with anything, that tends to indicate there's something maybe a little more acute, a little more severe that needs your attention. Snaps, crackles, and pops with pain. I've already mentioned that. So if you have any of the sounds associated with pain, that should be something that needs to be evaluated. Pain that's immediate with throwing low or high intensity. So this is a kid that even if he's throwing that catch intensity, 70 feet, 50% intensity, and he's having pain, that's a problem. because he's going to hurt if you throw faster. Like, it's always amazing to me when coach, kids say, yeah, coach said I warmed up and I hurt. Well, let's get in the mountain and see if you get better. Look, if you hurt throwing at 50% intensity, what do you think throwing 100% is going to do? So again, we got to listen to the bodies there. And then again, pain that is worsening. There's going to be fluctuations in pain, as I said, because they're athletes. But soreness, if it's nothing that's a big deal, is going to go away. If pain is now, like I said, it's around all the time, not only when they throw, it hurts throughout the day, basic benign activities, if they hurt to swing a bat now too, that's a problem. So we got to get to those things quickly. The sooner you get to them and get them addressed, the sooner they're back out in the field. They let these things fester, and it takes longer to get them right. All right, so get on it quickly. Any questions there about that before I move on? Okay. So now, let's talk a little bit about performance variables in baseball ability. Because again, there's a lot of conjecture, a lot of, frankly, internet gurus that say one thing or another. I'm going to summarize it for you. Lower body power dictates baseball ability. Right? And there's some studies here to back it up. Lower body field tests correlated with throwing velocity. 2 papers have shown that. Agility, speed, lower body power predicted baseball ability. Another study in 2013. The only variable that mattered in both pitch ball velocity and bat velocity was standing long jump. Folks, the greatest athletes in the world, whatever sport it is, do 2 things better than anybody else. They put more force into the ground, and they spend the least amount of time on the ground as possible. Force into the ground is strength. Least amount of time on the ground is the elasticity. These are the folks like, I'll give you an example. Like Tyreek Hill is one of the most elastic people I've seen. Like that guy almost floats when he runs. That's elasticity. But you have to have a strength base to be able to do that. Okay, so that's why I said the greatest athletes do 2 things better than anybody. More force on the ground, spend the least amount of time on the ground as possible. Look at this here. This is a study of ASMI down in Alabama. They're a baseball, legit research hotbed. They looked at these pitchers ages 9 to 15 and compared them to elite pitchers. Youth pitchers had a shorter stride than elite pitchers, so we need mobile, stable hips, right? Youth pitchers landed in a more open landing than elite pitchers. So again, I'll let them pick. I know what that means. I'll let the pitching guys talk about that later. They land with too much extra rotation and foot contact that youth ones did. So again, they're too open. And then lastly, youth pitchers had less hip and shoulder separation than elite pitchers. So that hip-shoulder separation there's been a few papers that have shown this, is a definite correlation to velocity. Hip-shoulder separation, so they have to have mobile, stable hips and a mobile, stable spine, which I'll talk about how to do that for your kids. By the way, at Maddox, I found this stat. Again, one of my major league buddies said this to me. Greg Maddox faced 20,421 batters during his career. Only 310 saw a 3-0 count, 177 intentional walks. We all know that Greg Maddox wasn't throwing 100 miles an hour. Okay. Again, getting back to the idea of teaching kids to pitch. So here's a couple of things that I like to do for hip-shoulder separation. Now you can use, this kid here is a college pitcher. Now you can use, so we've got a band here, and what he's doing, he's in a split position, his hips are square, and he's just almost like, I call these bow and arrows. It's like pulling a bow back. So you drive that shoulder blade in, have them rotate their spine to get square, and you see his hips stay forward. So that's a nice, easy way to work on hip-shoulder separation. Or if you attach bands to the fence in practice. So here's another one. This is a kettlebell. So he's in a split position. You'll see here that he's got, you can kind of tell, about 125 knee flexion here. Got that? He's really impressing it. And just getting that thoracic rotation from his chest. Okay, a real easy way to work it. And again, you don't need kettlebells. You can use a plain dumbbell or back use a can of junkie soup. The idea is just that you're working that rotation through the spine, keeping the hips away from it. So a little more injuries, what we currently know. Throwing a baseball greater than 8 months a year leads to 5 times injury. Okay, we just got to put the ball down. We just got to put it down. Encourage kids to do it. Please encourage them to do it. Take care of the bodies. Get them some structure, conditioning, mobility exercises, which again I'll talk about here. And then exceeding 16 hours a week of total sports participation seems to have the greatest risk of injury. So this is where again, look at all the practice time, the coming to work with the pitching coaches, things like that. That adds up, and that just leads to a greater risk of injury. This is interesting. I thought I would share this with you guys here too, just because of the environment we live in. This is a map of the U.S. and it shows greater than 200. Look where they're all at. Okay, they're all in the north and the northeast. Not very much down here, you think. So again, the point this is trying to make is that maybe, just maybe, kids make it the northeast because it's cold and they have to put the ball down. They can't throw it over outside and play it. Okay, so put the baseball down. So I was going to talk about program design. I didn't want me to talk about that. I was going to talk about some key program components like cross-field training. Again, leg strengthening is big. Okay, you don't have to have fancy weight room. Lunges, step-ups, squats, things like that. Basic stuff is offered to kids, particularly younger kids. Watch a younger kid do a single leg squat and they fold up like an accordion. Okay? They can't even control their body weight against gravity. Why would you put a bar on their back? Or put a bar on their chest and they can't even do a push-up? Okay? So body weight before any external resistance. Spine and hip mobility, I'll show you some slides of that here in a bit. Rotator cuff and scapular strength is huge. Shoulder and body flexibility. Again, I'll put my email up later. Feel free to call me or feel free to reach out an email or heck, call Jeff. Those guys have my number. Happy to give you any more student questions. I will show you a couple canvas things that you should be doing though that are easy to do anywhere, even in a low budget. So this first one here, I put all my young guys on this because it's easy to do it anywhere. You could lay flat on the ground and do this. With pitching and throwing, we talk about all your gas in front, the brakes are back. These kids need brakes. Alright, so the muscles working in the shoulder, between the shoulder blades are your brakes. So here in this first one, I'm kind of in a T position, and I'm just bringing my shoulder blades up. The one on the right, you'll see the differences in my thumbs are up, so it just changes the muscle movement just a little bit. I'll spare showing you the studies that shows the muscle activation and what's different there, just that they are different. And then this one here is kind of like the one on the left is my arms are next to my body, almost like an arrow. Working on squeezing the shoulder blades. And then the last one is where it is W position. Alright, and what I have kids do is just work body weight first and build up reps. So they'll do these back to back to back to back and just build up their endurance, their ability to do them. That weight's not going to go. So here's another one. Your arm is at 90 degrees, so it's not all the way up, down all the way down. You can lay at the edge of the bed, lay at the edge of the weight bench. But again, this is back of the shoulder stuff. Again, if they don't have weights at home, a can of soup works fine. A can of food can pound. Really, these kids don't have the strength to pound to this point. Sideline external rotation is one that's really nice. It's a lightweight, top in the armpit, and again, raising the feels in the back of the shoulder. It's great for the posterior rotator cuff. Again, kids can do this anywhere. You might be familiar with these. That's great. These are the best ones to do. This one here is for the front of the rotator cuff. If you're doing, again, depending on who you see online, if you see somebody doing this empty can stuff with the thumb down, go to the next website. You haven't picked up. They don't know what they're talking about. We haven't had that since 1980. Like, you just don't do that anymore. You don't need to. It's thumbs up. You're about 45 degrees in this plane in front. So it's not a lateral raise. It's not a front raise. It's kind of splitting the difference. That's the scapula. Two big external and internal rotation. Again, this isn't reinvent the wheel, folks. These exercises have been around forever because they work. Everybody's looking for the sexy, hot new thing to do. But there's a reason why these have lasted forever, because they're the right ones to do. Okay, so don't change for the sake of changing because you want to do something new. The reason why they're doing these exercises since the dawn of time is because they're effective for the muscles we're targeting. Okay? Now, if you want to as well, you can, if you're not heard of this, maybe you Google the Throwers 10. There's certainly a lot more to do, but you can, there's about, again, 10 exercises or so. That's for the rotator cuff and just the arm in general. You can use bands, you can use weights, it doesn't matter, but it's at least something kids can do at home with, it's not by any means super comprehensive, but it's something. Something is definitely better than nothing. All right. So some other things I would encourage you to look at. I talked about spine mobility, upper shoulder mobility. Kids are, see, here's the thing, we know nowadays they're all in front of phones, they're all in front of video games and computers and like this. They're hunched over, and then we ask about the practice to do that. Okay, open up and throw. So this first one on the left, this is just using the foam ball. Lay on the foam ball, let your arms hang down, and stretch the front of that shoulder. A few minutes at a time. Do that whenever, basically. The more of that stuff, the better. The one on the right is actually working on thoracic extension. I tell people to put the foam roll down the lower rib cage, and you're just doing real small oscillations with your butt on the ground. And you might feel some pops and some snaps, and you might even feel some pain with that, with how stiff. But like like I said, whether it's swinging a bat or throwing a baseball, you have to get some extension. And even when you rotate, part of rotation is extension. So you have those two go together. So it's important that you're able to extend. This is another one that I love. We call these open books. Basically, you hug a foam roll, you lay over the top, you see my hips over the top here, my hands together, the top of the foam rolls in my armpit. You maintain contact of your chest with the foam roll, and you rotate your head and look at your hand, and it's working on rotation again through the upper spine. Hip-shoulder separation, this is a great way to work on it. You can give your kids stuff to do this stuff at home. Now, this is another big one. I would encourage your kids, again, it's hard in a baseball field sometimes to have foam rollers and stuff. Maybe encourage them to do it at home. Definitely encourage them to do stuff after the game when they get home. This is part of that home care. As I mentioned earlier in my first couple of slides, pitching makes you tight and tired. Okay, your lats, muscles back here, okay, they're involved in the acceleration of the arm, and they get going. One thing you can do, you'll see this in my next slide here. Rolling up the lats helps loosen that up. There is a greater, we're learning that there is a greater risk of injury in throwers with a decrease in shoulder flexion. So if I raise my arm up like so, if you see it straight up and down, that's 180 degrees. You want to see that? It should be straight up and down. One of the ways you can check your kids out for this is I have them, you have them come up against the wall, and I'm telling you, check your kids out on this. I bet nobody's able to do it. You flatten your back out completely on the wall. Sorry, I'm holding my ears from my left hand. I have them raise both arms up. I got my arms on the wall, flat, and my back staying on the wall. What we find is that they have to arch their back because they don't have the front shoulder ability in here, or they have a good flexion through here. So it's a real simple thing, and you can check your kids out, and they can check themselves. Again, it's one of those little, if you think about like making it like a recipe or something, this is like a tablespoon of something to help your kids out. Because the more they throw and they don't mobilize themselves, the more flexion loss they get. And what happens is that they have to overcorrect because they don't have the mobility. So it's something easy you can give the kids to do. You can roll the ball if you want, if you want to throw a ball. But it's certainly something very simple for them to help, again, reduce the risk of injury and help keep them prepped for the next game. Another one that's called a angel. Again, walk out from the wall, back is flat, and I'm up like this, and you see here, I can get my arm, I can maintain my arm contact with the wall, up and down, and my back is still flat. I'm going to bet you, if you try this, your kids are like, oh, and the arch of their back, they can't get there. It's spine and front shoulder mobility. Get on the foam roll, roll out the lats, do the thoracic spine stuff I showed you earlier, that will get better. And in fact, if I have a post-op kid, whether it's shoulder or elbow, he does not get to throw anything until both of those are passed. I don't care if he's 5 months out, she'll throw one thing up. I'm setting up for failure if he doesn't have that baseline level of mobility. So it's super, super simple. And if you have more questions about it, I'm happy to answer them for you later. A couple of quick stretching points. I get asked this a lot too, stretch before or after. It appears in the literature that static stretching, like place your leg on the bleachers and stretch your hamstrings, it appears to be something you want to do after you play or practice. The reason that when you stretch, you have, I'm going to try to get too sciencey here, but you have contractile proteins in your muscle. By stretching, they need to be like a optimal relationship. If you stretch, you pull them apart a little bit, and there's papers that have shown there's a decrease in acute pump by doing that. So, and I'll show you when I'm done here about some warm-up stuff. So the idea is get hot beforehand, roll out the lats, all that stuff before practice, before games. And if you feel the need to do static stretching after. Now, you can certainly make the argument to go the other way. I'm just telling you what the research has shown on this, that it's definitely, this is something that we've always kind of done, but the evidence didn't really shake out for it, and now we're starting to see some evidence that maybe that's the best way to go about things. But the key real quick here, the hamstring stretch, I encourage you to try this yourself. Most of the time when people stretch a hamstring, the stance leg is turned out like this. Pigeon toe that stance leg, it's going to make the biggest difference in how your hamstring stretch feels. Again, if you have questions on that, I'll show that to you later. All right, weighted baseballs. So there was a paper that came out last year in Sports Health Journal, actually it was the most downloaded a journal article last year in that particular journal, okay? Sorry, I'm trying to come back here again. So it wants to. All right, okay. Okay, so weighted baseballs. This particular study was a scientific study that was done. No players in the game, so to speak, nobody was donating stuff for this. This is that guy, Mike Ronald, I was telling you about, him and his colleagues in Boston. In this particular paper, they did improve velocity, but 24% injury rate increase. All right, you have to earn the right to use weighted baseballs for one. And two, this is one of those things I'm going to speak candidly here. I don't want to minimize the term child abuse for people that have been through it, but using weighted baseballs on a kid with open growth weights is a form of child abuse. Yeah, I said it, and it is. Okay? Put the weighted baseballs down in young kids with open growth because you're putting on the appetite. In that situation, the under 17s with 5 kids that had Tommy Johns. I talk to most major league guys, and they'll say this, and this is 3 that I talked to last month. The weighted baseballs are okay for a fringe guy that maybe needs a mile or 2 an hour to add. Okay, but by and large, not necessary. This is a giant marketing ploy right now. Okay, we don't need to do it. The kids need to be. You'd much rather have your kids working on cup, leg strength, and hip and spinal ability than do any of this garbage. Okay, they don't need to do it. And like I said, are the kids' growth weights open? You have to get x-rays to find that out. Alright? You have to earn the right, just like you have to earn the right to put weight in your bag and the weight room, it's the same thing with this. And I might ruffle feathers, I really don't care. But this is a problem, and these marketing guys online are a big problem because people are buying into it. Alright? And what we don't know yet, folks, if you, let's just say you gain another degree or 2 of miles per hour, do you have to keep doing the weighted baseballs to sustain it? We don't know that. Okay? So just like anything else, if I go in the weight room and I squat and I get really strong in the off season and I don't pick up a weight for 6 months, I'm going to lose everything I just had. There is no doubt that these weighted baseballs increase stress on the elbow for sure. Alright, we're still learning about the shoulder. Alright, so again, if you checked out on me, I can't help that, alright? But it is what it is, and I can say it. So what about long toss? This is another big one. I did a talk a couple weeks ago at University of Oklahoma, a few talks there. And, the other guest speaker was the director of medical services for the Chicago Cubs Major League team. And he said they don't have their guys do long toss. But this is kind of one of those things that it varies from team to team. You know, you get a guy that comes in, he's always done it, he's going to do it. So here's just what the data says about long toss. And it's kind of like I report, you decide kind of thing, okay? So they evaluated medical strength during a long toss in high school players in this study. This is last year, and these are high school players. Long toss greater than 120 feet increased elbow strain significantly. So what that means is if you have a kid that's got a history of elbow trouble, maybe a history of elbow surgery, things like that, maybe going beyond 120 feet isn't his best argument, the best thing for him. Long toss increased shoulder external rotations. That's this direction here. So certainly if you have kids that are a little tighter kids, okay, long toss can help let that arm go a little bit, and that's okay. But long toss increased arm speed as well in this particular study. So, I know the guy that did this study, he and I talked about his paper a bit. He's a scientist, and he swings the and said, a long toss would be part of any, just like you do strength training programs, long toss would be a part of that program too. So what about interval throwing program? This is another one that's kind of a hot debate. This came out. They compared stress off the mounts. I'm sorry, folks. I'll just keep moving on here. So they compared stress off the mount with flat ground. Throwing off the mount reduced stress compared to flat ground. Shorter distances at 60 feet or less had similar strength intensities off the mount from stationary positions. And then longer throws of 180 feet showed less strain than short distances, likely because of the grow out. So what this means is throwing on flat ground on the line is much more stressful on the elbow and shoulder than throwing off the mount or throwing from a pro hop or a pull down type. Okay? But the guy from the Cubs said that he doesn't they don't like doing long toss because the release point's different. Okay, long toss is more back here. During games, when we throw it somewhere up here, right? So that's just their philosophy, but other teams are totally good with it. I can't sit here today and tell you to do it or not to do it. All I'm saying is what I shared with you with the 120 feet thing and the elbow stress. So some takeaways about long tossing. Effort versus intent, it's different, okay? Throwing 50% on a straight line is much different than throwing 50% on an arc or 100% on an arc. So what is crow hop does help because you get that lower body momentum going. It's okay to let the arms go from time to time. And sit here and quote you any papers that say doing a long toss at 180 or 300 feet is a bad thing. Is it okay to let the arms out a bit? Is it part of a structured throwing program? Yeah, it can be. Okay, but I can't tell you today yes or no not to do that. All I can tell you is avoid those weighted balls. Again, history of 120 feet is a problem, so watch that. So here's 10 recommendations. This is really, if you want a good website, again, I have no ties to it. My friend, again, Mike's done the research. He's in the field. He's a PT, he's an athlete trainer. He's got good research, but it's called elitebaseballperformance.com. Again, I have zero ties to, no financials in any products, nothing. All right, I'm just saying it's good information. But here's the recommendations that they post on there. So watch for the signs of fatigue for 2 to 3 months a year. Follow limits and rest days. Avoid multiple teams and overlapping seasons. Get the mechanics right as soon as possible. Pitchers should not be catchers too. Shoulder, elbow pain in pitchers should be evaluated. I talked about that earlier with the red flags and stuff. Avoid the radar balls, okay? Because again, they're throwing and necessarily pitching. Minimize showcases and inspire interest in play in other sports to increase their athleticism. Okay, and that's what I talked about earlier. It's different sports require different muscle groups, different ways of thinking, ways to approach things. It's going to help their overall athleticism. So some other resources here. PitchSmart.org is a really good one. PitchSmart.org. StopSportsInjuries.com. That kind of talks about the state of youth injuries in sports right now. And then ASMI and LittleLeague.org. American Sports Medicine Institute down in Alabama has got some. They're doing a lot of really great biomechanics research on pitchers. And again, just kind of straight talk and stuff. But LittleLeague.org is an edit one. And like I mentioned, the ASMI. So again, PitchSmart.org, StopSportsInjuries.com, EliteBaseballPerformance.com, and then LittleLeague.org. So the bottom line, sorry I had pictures going cold here, but so again, educate your kids. They need to rest. They need to do strength training. It's not just about the skill. They have to develop athleticism. Watch the pitch counts. Legs feed the wolf. We need mobile, stable hips and shoulders. Spine mobility. Mechanics are key. And then one of the things my buddy that works in Major League Baseball, he tells them, save your minutes. All right, monitor those pitch counts. We want the kids to have long-term success, and when their arms are trashed by the time they get to college or the pros or something like that, we haven't really done any help. So again, sorry we're closing here. This isn't just bad luck or weakness, okay? It's definitely your programs need to have strength, flexibility, kind of jump training, and education is key. And again, start with the basics. These things I showed you, they're not sexy, I get it. I put a lot of kids on some basic hip strengthening on their side and on their back. I know people want to see plyometric boxes and Vertimax and ladders and stuff, but the analogy I use all the time with kids is that you don't start school in 5th grade, you start in 1st grade. 1st grade gives you the foundation to succeed in 5th grade. The stuff I showed up there is 1st grade stuff, but these kids are going to do that. Alright, so getting them started in a basic program, teaching them how important it is to take care of their bodies is critical because, again, they only go so far and those things break down when they get to that level that they so sought to get to. They spend the whole time riding. So thank you, my email here, Daniel S. Lorenz, on Twitter, KC Rehab Expert.